It is time for the Nebraska Dairy Update. I'm Chad Moyer. My guest on today's program from Midwest Dairy, Martha Kemper. She is Vice President of Dairy Experience, focusing specifically in business development. Martha, thanks for taking the time and visiting with us here today. We're going to highlight some things from National Dairy Month, the month of June, and just kind of recap some of the highlights and things like that. First of all, your thoughts on June Dairy Month and the activities that took place. Was it a success?
Oh, it was. And thanks for having me, Chad. Love always talking about the retail successes that our team continues to deliver. You know, National Dairy Month really continues to be an opportune time to highlight the benefits of dairy to consumers. It's really a celebration that lasts all month long, and retailers really benefit from a lift in sales due to the increased attention to this large dollar volume aisle in their store. You know, this was a great and very successful National Dairy Month. The numbers aren't all in yet, but we've gotten some preliminary information indicating some really great results. We had 11 retailer-specific partnerships throughout the Midwest Dairy region with two overarching efforts that impacted the entire 10-state region. And all of our campaigns carried the primary dairy message of love dairy, love local.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of those. Maybe we can get a couple of examples for us in and around Nebraska. And a big retailer in our region is Hy-Vee. And I understand there was a partnership with Hy-Vee. Tell me about that.
We had a great partnership again with Hy-Vee. They're a great success story for National Dairy Month. They went all in on a month-long celebration of dairy with Dairy Month displays and dairy product promotions. The consumers saw dairy messaging on in-store displays. They had cottage cheese, they had sour cream, they had dips, kind of all the summer favorites. The online shoppers saw dairy messaging inspiring their purchase via on-site banners all over their website, too.
Okay. And maybe just taking this, a little bit beyond Hy-Vee, some other in-store examples of what happened during the month of June.
Sure. You know, one of those overarching campaigns I referenced was actually a retail signage effort. So think about almost 900 stores in the Midwest Dairy region had Dairy Month signage in the dairy department to remind consumers to pick up their dairy purchase. You know, while digital or online shopping is really growing, we do know that 47% of consumers still shop in-store only. We deliver that dairy messaging through these in-store signs while they're making their purchase decisions at the store shelf.
Okay. And then, so you said, you mentioned that in-store promotions, very important, but there is this element of online shopping. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Midwest Dairy does pay some attention to that too, right?
Oh, sure. I mean, as I said, 47% of people shop in-store. What are the other 53% doing, right? Some combination of in-store and online. So we certainly cannot neglect that consumer. And in fact, we had a partnership again with Chicory. And Chicory is a third-party vendor that actually has a unique niche in the recipe area. So these are inspirational recipes. So when consumers go in and put a search term in looking for like cheesy meals or delicious dips, Chicory, that reaches over 100 million unique shoppers and has lineage to 5,200 recipe publishers like Food Network or allrecipes.com. People are served recipes that meet their criteria. So they're looking for meal inspiration. These search terms drive them to recipes that use dairy in them. And if a shopper likes the recipe, they can add the ingredients to make the recipe. They can add it to their cart through Instacart, or if they're like me, they can add it to their paper grocery list and take it into the store on their next shopping trip. And right now, the preliminary data from this campaign shows that our messaging and our creative work for that campaign performed high versus what other Chicory campaigns have done in the past. You know, an unmeasurable part of this recipe collaboration in our promotional work is that if a consumer or their family really enjoy the recipe, if they're like me, it becomes part of my regular family routine. So we're going to enjoy that dairy-centric recipe again and again.
Mm-hmm. All right. Just as we wrap up this conversation, Martha, you were telling me before we went on the air that, whether it's online, in store, or, whatever combination that might be, there is kind of a common focus, right? Highlighting the local farmer. Why is that an important element?
Chad, consumers want to know where their food comes from. We also know from our proprietary research that consumers really trust the voice of dairy farmers. So Highlighting the local aspect of dairy drives trust and confidence that consumers want to have when making purchase decisions. So love dairy, love local. Strong messaging.
Absolutely. So if folks want to read up more on this, maybe some of the other campaigns, other information, as all of that June Dairy Month data comes together, how can they find that?
MidwestDairy.com.
Good to talk to you. Thank you, Martha. Martha Kemper, Vice President of Dairy Experience, focusing on business development at Midwest Dairy, and again, kind of highlighting the results, preliminary results from June Dairy Month, National Dairy Month promotions, and some of the work that was done on behalf of dairy farmers. That is today's Nebraska Dairy Update. Chad Moyer reporting.